Beyond the seams, beyond the pale, the world is rocked with the path of the future. Yet the pain of life obscures the pleasure of progress. Ashes and gold, blood and copper. Hello and welcome to the Civilization V Battle Royale X Mark V Episode 24, and thus opens the Doorway of Night. Hello, it is I, Orange Chrissy, here once more to narrate this wonderful mess we all love. I've been jumping between a big Civ modding project and depression for a few months, so please excuse my lack of lazy Portugal shows. They take a fair bit more thought to make than my normal comics. I know what I'm going to do for the next time, I just need to gather the motivation. You know how it is. In the meantime, though, I found a new icon style for UBs and UUs, and I'm learning more about improvement models. Did you know that how the game handles shadows is completely nonsensical to understand? Well, I sure do now. With all that said, I think it's about time you move along before I go mad over how little info there is about certain aspects of this game. Where's the Liberator when you need them? I don't want to be the one with the most experience in this shit. Thanks, me. Great choice in what you did on this one. Very funny. Note to self, figure out what to do at Comic-Con. Perhaps Pakistan's conquest of Sumer. Wallachia giving away even more shit? Probably that one. Showing off Archimedes' lil goober version of Tlingit, who desperately wants to not be seen as the villain, despite the fact that they definitely are. Sorry you got some bullshit and also killed Pomo. You're villain number one in my books. Also, check out this fantastic video by AltBSidK, aka Vijber. It's very good. Look at all those people helping to keep the site running. Only you can stop server costs. There's quite a few ghosts now, and the only way forward is to face the past, see the wrecks of what is lost, and forge a new path built from their failures. The Cuirassier Corps sent west to Shine Houdet are the ones who drew the short sticks. Each soldier spends their mornings huddling in their blankets, their afternoons shuffling their horses around the snowy peaks, their evenings wishing they were part of the many sent south, and their nights hardly able to sleep from the shivering. Those fighting to take Hubdan are just thankful they don't have to siege the mountain fort. Seychelles does seem like they're finally maybe picking up steam, and Kamina falls to their fleets. Next up is Mankamba. Beyond that, much harder to say. Musumba could be vulnerable, but Luba does have some up-to-date units. They're only a bit behind. Also, hey, someone should go kill Moravi. What a day for footy. As I'm writing this, Spain beat Belgium in 2-1, and from what I saw of the first half, Belgium just did not have it. They got a nice goal, but I saw so many rough passes, like, come on. Anyways, it seems like we also have an exciting match today between the Union and the League, with the League taking an early possession lead advancing down the left side to Abendroth. Abendroth to Peterson, Peterson to Falling, cut inside and off the top bar. Just barely missed the shot. But with pressure like that, they'll be sure to get another shot soon. All of Ribe is riding on this game. Also, Scythia stops burning Bremen right before it disappears, ensuring Citadel spam remains, and Hansa has even less space to work with. Thought that mod had stopped working or something earlier in the game, but guess not. From the Journal of Arif Sharmin, Divisional Commissioner of Rajshahi, Bangladesh. Dated July 19, 1917. As Boreas steps, the world waits. As Boreas runs, the world watches. These were the words stamped into the shimmering archway leading to the main grounds of the fair. And these words I have come to understand deeply throughout this long day in Michilimackinac. The city as a whole feels like it has been transformed into a showcase of the Anishinaabe. A blistering demonstration of power that few others would dare attempt. When I entered the central plaza, wrongly assuming I would find myself quickly heading towards the pavilion of my own sod, I instead felt my emotions seized and my heart stayed. Every building awash in the new Romanticist stylings. Art obscuring every surface it could. Sounds. Oh, the sounds, clamoring to be heard by all who could, granting us visitors the melody of the world. It felt as if the future was in my grasp, and yet, while Boreas ran, I could do naught but gaze in wonder as he led us to the new era. Kapak has been watching as well, not the World's Fair, but the world itself. He's seen the recent change in how the strongest rulers rule, consolidating even more power amongst themselves somehow, or calling for their government to be of the people, though they seem to all still hold the power themselves. Kapak has been watching all this, and stuck between the autocratic regimes of the north and the Soviets to the south, he decided he needed to go a different way. Freedom, he calls it, and freedom it shall be. On the side, a non-war war starts and a few end, not much to report. More interesting is Huaricanga falling. Will Corral be able to snipe it? Maybe this is the freedom Kapak was talking about. When delivered the news of the recent capture of Hobdan, the Cuirassier Corps attacking Wanshude are reported to have responded with, "We're so happy for you," and then, quietly, "Fucking bitch, fuck this fucking shit-ass city, fuck these bitches down south." Further requests for comment about the alleged use of harsh language were ignored by the Corps. Chetkale has almost fallen to Tlingit, too. Speaking of the Tlingit, they are stockpiling quite a whole lot of planes along their border with the Italimen. I count 32 here, versus the approximately 0 of the Italimen. They best be hoping there isn't a war in the works soon. But maybe not quite yet, as Shavante manages to get a peace deal with one of their neighbors, the Chono. However, they are still about to lose Huaricanga, assumedly to Yanomami, who goes before Corral, and the Yanomami army is still pressing the offensive. The capital has been hit, but Biggie Small's latest album has also been a hit, so who here is really the winner? Also, damn, that's so many musicians the Shavante have. They're dying and just belting out the tunes in response. Religion Watch. Corral's Pachaism has gotten a reformation. They nabbed merit and endowment, letting them use faith to buy a bunch of science buildings. Quite useful. They have like 20,000 faith, so they could really use it here. Lanfang once more takes the former Pegu capital, as Shin Sabu probably looks on in indifference at this point. Bangladesh will probably retake it next turn, and then Lanfang again, since they have frigates and whatnot. Lanfang also builds Brandenburg Gate, letting their units get even more XP in the city it was built in, whichever city that was, along with some other small bonuses. Quite nice. The old swapperoo happens as Tlingit marches into Chetkale and Teo runs around and manages to sneak into Tatem. And yet, there's no attempt to resurrect the glorious nation of Pomo? What is wrong with everybody here? Anyway, Tlingit has about 13 planes down here. That's gonna help clear the way. Despite the search effort by Pakistan to find Ayanatum and his hot Sumerian wife, all leads lead to nowhere. Jinnah soon gives up and declares the search, and the war as a whole, over. Sumer is no more, and never will be again. Don't quote me on this in 20 episodes when someone randomly decides to resurrect Sumer. If you do, I will cry. Potiwara closes in on Mission El Toba, and also continues to not want to send any fleet south. Really, 2 episodes ago, I did not expect this war to go like this. I thought Waikuru had it in the bag. The notorious BIG heads back to safer lands as Huaricanga falls to Yanomami, working his way through the crowds to reach Apawena to say he's got a story to tell. Afterwards, Apawena is left utterly confused at how the story about a girl cheating on someone seemingly named Nick with Biggie relates to the fallen city, but he isn't one to question music. It's known to work in mysterious ways for the Shavante. The Revolutionary French National Guard is the place to be for all the young and up-and-coming soldiers of the French Empire. They give culture when leveling up and gains XP from selling and constructing guillotines. Or in Minecraft terms, the National Guard uses French cities as an Enderman XP farm. We pan back over to Lanfang to see the architects behind the Brandenburg Gate, Shreve, Lamb, and Harmon. They wanted to name it the Empire State, but Luo Fangbo said, nah, that sounds stupid. You can't just put two synonyms together like that, and proceeded to suggest that they go for something foreign-sounding, like from the Hanseatic League, perhaps. NSW finally stopped hanging around Ross to go attack Shanjudaya, though Lanfang should be able to send the frigates in soon enough to clear things out. We also get a glimpse of the Rum Corps, New South Wales' unique unit, which starts with extra XP based on luxury happiness, and spawns a luxury when capturing a city. Also, some useless wars are started and ended. Seychelles decides to join on the autocracy train, clearly the main ideology of this game at this point. What a bandwagon. Moncomba also gets lightly damaged. Tlingit managed to nab Totem back last turn, and with the incredible power of planes has taken Dali much quicker. The Age of Flight is a wondrous one, for those who know how to soar at least. Archimedes is evidently not one who can. Teo slips further. Yes, I see the right side. I'm looking at these slides before you do. Can't keep these beats down in this beat down as Shavante retakes Warikanga, with Biggie's musical support kick in the door, with Yanomami's takeover having helpfully pushed Corral back across the Andes. They won't keep it, of course. There's a few Yanomami units who can easily take it back, but it's the effort that counts. They're fighting, and that's more than some can say. The rivalry, by some miracle, is over? The Yanomami, in their assaults to retake Huaricanga, surrounded and captured their biggest notorious enemy. It's not long before Biggie Smalls is being transported north to create a rap duo the world will never be prepared for. The notorious B.I.G. and Tupac Shakur, sitting bars together. Truly, enemies to lovers is one of the greatest tropes out there. No, I'm not going to write Tupac Notorious B.I.G. yaoi, but I will say there is some out there, and it's not nearly as much as I expected. Come on, fanfic writers, get on it. Ah, there we go. Susquehannock attacking Charagua. Charagua recently founded Gonaibo, founded between the last two slides of the previous episode. Yep, in the upper right of slide 99, the settler is there and it's Tlingit's turn. And then slide 100 is after the rest of the civs that turn go, including Charagua, so the city is on the map. And it seems like it might just get taken immediately. Now, Charagua does have one big saving grace: frigates. And, that's it. That's all Charagua has. They can pretty easily be outproduced. Can't wait for them to somehow manage to defend Gonaibo and then give away Yakimel. Bangladesh pushes back into Hong Sawatoy after Lanfang seems to have decided they did it and went home. They look like they've started sending things south, and by south I mean east to the Gulf of Thailand instead of any front, leaving the former capital ripe for reconquest. They do still have frigates though, so, they could probably retake it soon enough. The Bjarmians managed to flip back Umpi and Koloparem. Whee! I can't wait for Estonia and Scythia to take these civs out. Seychelles takes Moncomba down to yellow, and yeah, they'll take it. So I'll call your attention to two other locations. Up north, Ethiopia has been sending an army to try and fight Seychelles. Badly. It doesn't seem like it's making much progress. And to the bottom left, where you may notice the camera isn't showing the Luba-Herrera War. Clever viewers will realize this is because that front line was fated to never be changed. It is so. Yada yada, Potuara slowly taking Guaycuru's capital down, yada yada, Yanomami slowly pushing into Shavante. None of that is important here, it's Pancho Villa! Woo! I could write some narrative bit with him, but instead I'm gonna soapbox about the Mexican civs I'm making. So I'm making a whole bunch all centered around the Mexican Revolution, so of course Pancho Villa has to be one. I've been pushing through this project, which is probably too much for me, given I'm gonna increase my number of released civs by about 50% at once, but, it's getting there. Probably August at this rate. Need a bunch of leader scenes, text, music, unit models, mod support, and a bit of balancing, and a few other small bits. So basically, I'm gonna have half the civs in the vote there next time, and I'll still probably lose. Woo! Corner for the League. Union's been on the back foot this whole game, and another corner kick is not what they want to be facing. Svensson's gotta be hoping the ball gets kicked out of the box before any League players can touch it, but despite their size, the League's known for their impressive jumps. Yacht lining up, and there's the kick! Mark! And Svensson gets a hand on it, sending it over the net! Another corner! The players are already lining up again. It seems it's currently the extra time break in the match between England and Norway, England up 2-1. Norway's got to push hard to tie it up and send the game into penalties unless they want to pass the Miku to yet another country. Tang decides they don't want to have any happiness issues anymore, so they build Prora in Zhengzhou, giving them a whole lot of happiness, about 10 to 11 right now. The resort town is sure to be a big draw for everyone around, but they may want to avoid advertising this to the Roram. I feel like I could use Kamina Botan Blossoms When Drunk for a whole bunch of slide titles at this point. Hey, it's a good manga and now anime. I really gotta get myself to watch anime more so I can catch up on things. But I can confirm the manga's real good at least. Anyways, New South Wales decided Shanjudaya was too much trouble to be worth it. Lanfang didn't do anything, so decided to shift around the island to reach Mindirardi on the other side. It's already down to about 75%, but will they be able to go all the way? Maybe? You all know I don't have any faith ever in the Southeast Australian Civ, but Lanfang really should bring south their massive frigate armada instead of letting it rot up north. I, for one, totally forgot these civs were at war, but Scythia seems to have remembered and has sent a contingent to Sarai. It probably isn't going to go anywhere. They also make peace with Phoenicia. We take a quick look over at the former Rapa Nui and Ternate lands on Papua New Guinea, where, nothing much is happening. Though Banuba's frigate buildup seems interesting, I hope they fuck up New South Wales or something. At least attack someone to get back into the game. Tupac, for one, isn't quite sure what to make of the directive sent to him. A rap duo with his greatest rival? When said rival was violently captured by soldiers in Huaricanga and likely isn't going to be thinking favorably of the whole deal? Frankly, he thinks it's a plan crafted by dumbasses who don't know anything, somewhere way up near the top with ties to Kopinawa directly. But all things can be made possible with a bit of force, and Tupac is pushed along to agreement, and is soon sent out to meet his rival-turned-involuntary partner. I also forgot this war was still something ongoing, but seemingly 10 slides ago, Corral took Nthakataka, and Teo's just retaken it. It'll definitely be taken again, but then probably flip again, and who knows after that. Teo has no navy whatsoever, so Corral's small one is seemingly enough. Also, while checking for that flip, I saw that Fatika flipped to Zazao and then back to Ethiopia too. From a dispatch recovered in Dongwanglu, sent by General Gui Fang, head of the Java Theater, dated November 17, 1923. This is the 5th request I've sent this month. I'm no longer asking, I am demanding to know where the Navy is. Unless I have been getting habitually lied to by yourselves, then our Navy consists of hundreds of newly made frigates, and if the financials I have seen are also not fabricated by yourselves again, then they have cost a pretty fortune. So I demand of you, where the fuck are they? Java has been getting swarmed for months, and the latest report from the West is that they are beginning to take islands off the coast of Sumatra as well. I am well aware that the Northern Fleet has gotten the vast majority of the new ships. You cannot blatantly lie to me anymore about them. I am also well aware of the influence Admirals Toji, Sibo, and Goenong have among the government, and the lack of such influence of those of us in the South. I will put it bluntly. I know of the corrupt dealings that have been made with the Northern Navy, and the only reason I've not gathered my men and marched on Dongwanlu myself is because if I do so, then the whole nation will be overrun by the booze slingers, and I care far more for this country than you seem to. So I will request once more, for you to send the Northern Navy to reinforce the Southern Front. Let them prove their mettle and the gold spent on them. Let them prove they're not just hogs who swim in coins and bullshit. The Susquehannock offensive quickly takes Gonaibo down to yellow, though I do see the odd Onondaga ship blocking the way, and Charagua really needs more ships to fight back. But that attack of the northeast has been blocked at least. They just need to bring their ships in the east over and start pushing back the western attack before they can just run into the city enough to take it down. It does only have 18 strength after all. Maybe Guava will be the city that gets gifted away. Charagua's got options. Shkuenda sat in a cafe in Oaxaca. She had been in the city for a few months, slowly gathering rapport and ingratiating herself with the local elites. And yet, despite her time here, every time the planes fly overhead, their motors sputtering through the sky, panic seizes her. She's seen the reports, people parading in the streets as they hear about another block in Behukal or Kanabnal being flattened to ash and bone by bombs dropped from the domains of the gods. Before she had been sent out, she had told her husband and their children to flee south. He had remarked, "How can we run when we're being asked to?" And what was she to say to that? She who was about to cross over enemy lines in an attempt to gather intel, gather plans, gather any information she could to fight back the invaders. Nothing at all. She flinched in her seat as another one went overhead. Maybe that would be the one to kill her family. Maybe they were already dead and she had nothing to go back to, and the bombs that would drop were meant to destroy the memories she had that existed there. Blown apart limb from limb, just like the bodies, until all that remained was her husband's confident smile without a face to attach it to. She blinked a few times to clear her eyes, finished off the coffee in her cup, stood up, gathered her folders, and stepped out into the city, headed towards the airbase for her work, steeling herself for the sounds to come. Yanomami continues its assault towards Abayinya and Ataniri-Tipa, engaging in the same strategy they had around Warikonga, capture the music. While the other artists aren't as well known, aren't as popular, each one takes away from the Shavante, and each one is held at gunpoint as they are transported into Yanomami lands. As Biggie Smalls sits in his wagon, gun toward him at all times, his captors drone on and on about the plan, the duo he's being slated to be a part of. But there's not much he can do besides say "fuck that shit" every few sentences. Teotihuacan has a solid fleet if you solely look in their lands that are trapped away from any front line they have, and if you ignore the lack of frigates. Caral, on the other hand, with their small but advanced fleet, has retaken Inthakataka easily, and looks to advance towards Waka. It should be noted that Teo has, barely any ranged units around here. There's a field gun next to Waka and a galleys outside, but besides that, it's kinda just the cities themselves that can shoot these ships. Robert Johnson helps to give some levity to Mysore with his blues, hoping it can give them some morale against the encroaching Pakistan horde, by which I mean their UA that steals tiles and population. They've been keeping up with tech though, so if they can get to planes, they'll be able to hold decently well against Pakistan. Lan Fang has offered peace and immediately accepts it, only after realizing it was just Pegu. New South Wales, in the meantime, has taken Bakuan and is pushing more on Mindirardi. The Lan Fang fleet continues to hate the concept of fighting and prefers to play spin the bottle up north. Janos Hunyadi, self-proclaimed admiral, has spent the past few days sending angry letters to the High Command requesting more melee ships, which are promptly ignored because, yes, you are hired to be a general. Hunyadi, of course, finds this preposterous. He's at sea, leading a bunch of ships, and that in itself should qualify him as an admiral. And yet, the melee ships just don't come. Teotihuacan has been sending a detachment south, around the Coral attack, to go invade Mataveri and secure another Polynesian island. Now you may think, shouldn't they be focusing on protecting their homeland? But to that I'd say, Anyways, Teo brought some galleasses, but forgot the melee ships, and galleasses probably aren't gonna be enough here. They do have plenty of units to throw at the shores to their death, though. From the research notes of Heron of Windsor, head engineer of the Windsor estate, dated January 17, 1923. The experiments today have been a resounding success. I believe with a few more tweaks, I'll have something truly revolutionary, excuse the pun, on my hands. It's making me feel as giddy as a young child with candy, but how can one not when they are on the brink of changing the world? Power, oh glorious power. I'm getting ahead of myself. I must make a request for more copper, as pure as my assistants can find. Looks like the camera is taking a quick break from the action to give a friendly spotlight to John Field. He's one of the originators of this beautiful game, though it's said he always pushed for matches to take place at night, something about that time of day that entranced him. No one playing wanted to do that though, so instead let the area the game was played on be named after him to make up for it. Say what you want, but I'm glad it went that way so we can actually see the action here. The fans in the stadium too, I'm sure. With that said, let's look away from the field and look back at the field. The Hanseatic players are pushing pretty heavily. Maybe they'll finally get the opening they need to have a shot go in. Potiwara has done it. They've captured a capital. They are now in an exclusive club of, I believe, 9 members? I believe that even puts them above Tang, so Potiwara second place when? High places for such a small civ still. And yet, they are already pushing on Laguna Los Paches, bringing it down to yellow. Chono could never. From a report from the 34th Field Gun Brigade, dated March 1st, 1923. Fuck this stupid siege and whoever decided it was a good idea to attack it. Hey, don't write that down, asshole! Put on the report that progress is being made, but we're in need of more supplies, especially blankets. Fucking didn't even give us enough for the horses. Hey, stop writing that! Pichinguinha is yet another artist taken in the Yanomami assault. With the reports from a movement south of Abayinya, it seems that has been their primary objective, actually. His upbeat and quick choro music has been a hit among his captors, making him play for their amusement. Ethiopia still holds onto Fatika from when it flipped a while back, but Zazao muskets and lancers have been charging in, trying to overwhelm the battlefield. They have Fatika and Kuta down to yellow, while Adama is completely ignored. They could really use a bit more siege weaponry to help them out, but at least Ethiopia doesn't seem to have many units in general. Hyksos, I beg to set for all that is holy to please attack Ethiopia. Like, this is such a good opportunity to expand. Why do you refuse to do so? Waikuru's remaining cities still have some heft to them. Jesus Maria is a massive 28 population, and Mission Pilaga is a solid 18. Both have many frigates around them. I wonder if those could have been useful somewhere else. These cities definitely can't be taken by Potiwara, so they are just snacks waiting for Chono to step in, if they ever do. But for now, they are a home away from home for Esso, and also the home for a bunch of frigates that aren't being used. I'm sensing a theme in this episode. Moncama falls to Seychelles. Can they push to Musumba too? They don't have too many land units to attack with, but Luba only has like 2 field guns nearby. Though maybe Seychelles should focus on the encroaching Ethiopian army up north. Who am I kidding? They won't be able to do anything, lol. Thomas Blamey, yet another general claiming admiral, isn't doing the best job at taking Gonaibo. It's down to red, but it'll be Sharagua's turn next, and they should be able to take out most of the units adjacent to the city at the least. Frigates really are game changers, it has to be said. And yes, I've been here the whole time. In other news, Waikuru flips and then loses their capital again. I spent like 5 minutes trying to figure out how and who, until I realized there was a cuirassar hidden behind the city nameplate. Hunyadi does manage to pull a melee unit out of his ass and retakes Ntakataka. Teo should be able to retake it without much trouble again, but boy, that's gotta hurt. A city so close to their core being flipped quite a few times by a very minimal navy. Bet they sure wish they still had Cholula. With the fall of Moncamba, which Luba did little to defend, they propose a peace, and Seychelles quickly accepts so that they may focus on the super grave and important and deadly threat that is Ethiopia. Everyone acts scared. In the meantime, Luba can focus more on their war with Herero, which astute viewers may notice we have seen no proper screenshots of. That is because nothing is happening, because why would anything ever happen between these two? Jeffrey O'Hara, I see you copy and pasted from a Google Doc apostrophe, while fighting among the defenders of Monteverde, starts using his musical talents to inspire them, and ends up creating the hit song Carol. It quickly travels back to the homeland, where people can't stop singing it, and soon enough, the song has become an anthem. Unluckily for O'Hara, they forgot to send more frigates over, so Monteverde is likely to fall just from those few galleasses and muskets. It's the classic Hanseatic Hail Mary play here. They've stationed Eustis well offsides, and you'd think that'd make them be playing a man down. And, well, you'd be right. But at the same time, the Union seems fully willing to take the bait, and is keeping a man back themselves to keep watch and make sure Eustis can't screw with their positioning. It's really quite poor playing from the Union today. They're playing so defensively, and their players feel slow to run for the ball. The only saving grace is the League can't make a shot on goal seemingly ever. The assault on Gonaibo turns out to be a success. Well, it's likely to be taken back, but that's still quite the victory for Susquehannock, whose citizenry must be celebrating massively for this achievement, so much that they make peace with Yunnan. Old Shiheis has certainly started bringing more ships south, but still none of them are frigates or privateers. It really is a battle of quantity versus quality here, and currently quantity is winning. The Anishinaabe have brought Harold Bloom to the front lines. He immediately starts criticizing things. Should have expected that from a literary critic, it has to be said. The conditions are deplorable, the city undesirable, the loss of life wasteful. There was no point. Yet on they suffered, for Pontiac needed to control the Rockies. Denied at Macamo, he would not be denied here. "Why won't they fight?" Guifang shouted to anyone who could hear him, which mostly consisted of the commanders under him at their headquarters in Mindirardi. "I've requested over and over for them to send the Royal Navy. What blasted reason could they possibly have for refusing?" His commanders stood around awkwardly, eyes drifting off from sleepless nights spent organizing supply lines and setting up fortifications and moving regiments and manning the ports and, well, doing everything they could to survive. None of them had an answer. They all had tried. They knew Guifang wasn't yelling at them, merely towards them in his exasperation of the anger they all felt towards the leaders of their country. As Guifang deflated back into his chair, shoulders fallen in defeat, another rested his teeth and spoke up. "If I live through this battle, and I see any of those admirals, any of those governors, I'm going to shoot them just as I've shot the damn drunkards." This seemed to finally give the general a chuckle. "Yes," Guifang said. "Let us all live through this so that we may kill those bastards in the north with our own hands." He took a swig of his own tea. "That's an order." Holy shit, we finally got a shot of Francisco Goya. Ignore the western half of this slide, it's not important, nothing's happening over there. Let's instead talk about Francisco Goya. He was a pretty neat painter, I think. For real though, his paintings about the Peninsula War are absolutely incredible. His Saturn devouring his son might be one of my favorites. Something about it is just so great. Maybe it's a kind of goofiness of it mixed with the subject matter, and what it means, at least in my mind, about the times Goya was living in. And if you want to have a nice time, there's a wonderful YouTube video by Jacob Geller called Art for No One that discusses the black paintings and some others. Highly recommended. The namesake of the Rock of Gibraltar, Tariq ibn Ziyad, has joined the Ethiopian cause to try and retake Mbewe from the Seychelles. So far, he's seen minor success, damaging Mbewe. but I don't think it'll be enough to go much further. Also, hey, is that the home of the Fresh Prince up there? The past few decades have had quite a hullabaloo around weird artifacts, and as the cylinder's greatest mind of magic, Dihya has a theory. Aliens. Aliens have probably taken over some part of the cylinder, and the most likely target is that of the teleporting knights, the Kipchaks. She quickly declares war once she realizes. We get a nice shot of Ares, finally. They don't have nearly enough of a land army as they should, but at least they have frigates when their neighbors don't. Also, can we please get a better shot of Portugal so I can do some narrative stuff with Joao? I've been hoping to this whole time as penance for my lack of motivation for the LPS. Yanomami's War of Music continues, as Etaniri Teapot goes down to yellow, and Shavante is down to 6 musicians. Some are smartly hiding at the far end of the Civ, but others are right on the front line, ready to try and blast some tunes to blast away the invaders. But their numbers are dwindling. I think soon the music capital will change. Okay, sure, we can ignore the Bjarmia Vyatka War a bit longer. Not like that city capture will mean anything. In more important news, Charagua has retaken Gonaibo and is on the offensive? They're practically pushing into Susk's waters. Now this is going to be the tricky part, because they can make easy work of Susk's navy, but every ship they lose is consequential. Charagua cannot compete on production, so they have to hope they can turn that army towards Thessaloniki or something quickly, before the galleasses and galleons arrive. Lanfang makes peace with more irrelevant parties, rather than doing much to use the big army and navy he has to actually go fight the 2 enemies he has who are actual neighbors. I mean, what's a capital even worth anyway? O'Hare manages to get out just before the city falls to Teotihuacan, as well as in Takataka again. However, as I've said before, Corral has frigates nearby. They can probably take this back. But they really should try and send more. I can see them just sitting around there in the east. It seems Ares has managed to get a few more friends to fight the Kipchaks, and Ethiopia and Tang also decide to jump on Bactria. None of these are relevant. Can the Kipchaks and Bactria just fight each other already? We get a nice look at Shibata Katsuie, a samurai in general once trusted by Oda Nobunaga, but here taken under the command of Ilunga Sungu to do nothing, because no war is happening here. What a lovely and peaceful day. Mercenaries in Bjarmia seem to dislike that Umpti fell and rebelled. This won't do much, especially since those muskets should tear them apart. But it's a thought that counts. Also, shout out to the Phoenician triremes. Why do Estonia and the Bjarmians have open borders? Go fight again. Architect Zaha Hadid is petering around the southern Susquehannock lands looking for the next location to build her next monumental work. The New Age, one of flight and gunpowder and smoke, and it needs a new design to represent the places that make it up. Hadid knows she will be the one to lead that movement. Now if she could only find the right location. Susquehannock has a very empty backside here. Luckily, Onondaga sucks ass, so they won't do anything. But if Anishinaabe decides they've had enough of fighting the mountains, they will be able to walk into like 4 cities. Because Onondaga, for whatever reason, failed to settle any of this land earlier, Anishinaabe has slowly been citadeling it over and over until they control all of it. If they drop another on that great profit, they could easily fit 2 cities in there, which is more than Onondaga because, as I said on the previous slide, Onondaga sucks ass. Also, sad times for the Whale Outpost, as they've lost most of their tiles to this. Prince Friedrich Karl Nikolaus, Captain General of Teotihuacan, failed in his job to protect Encabnal. Frankly, he had no chance to succeed from the start, when the planes were flying overhead, and he was given intel from across enemy lines suggesting that they had many more planes in production. The Captain General protecting Behukal is likely getting a bit worried he'll share the same fate. Of course, one who doesn't back down in the face of terror is Dolly Parton, singing her heart out for the country she loves. Apoena, 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 Apoena doesn't quite have the same ring to it as her original chorus, but it would have to make do. Corral ships come crashing down into Mataveri, quickly retaking the city and preparing themselves to push on Sipar and Okaseta. O'Hare, now on a frigate, tells the captain of the ship he still has a desire to fight, so westward they sail. Still, imagine how much easier this would be if the rest of those ships near the coast joined the battle. Debbie Harry, as one of the only blondes in Bangladesh, starts a band named after her signature calling card, Butterscotch Brownies. Anyways, Lanfang still doesn't want to try to take the former Pegu capital back, so they're just sitting around as the Bangladesh soldiers get to listen to some rock music. Ismail Berzeg decides to jump on the autocratic train. What a classic. I wrote about this in the PR slide for them earlier today, but to restate for those who don't read the PRs, which should be no one, Circassia is in an interesting position where they have a fair bit of strength, but the geography makes them both really annoying to invade and really annoying for them to invade others. The main open path is the south, so this new front with Pakistan may cause some problems down the line. Nurhasi rejoins the Royale, this time under the command of Vlad. Unlucky for him, as Vlad does not have a need for generals trying to create great empires. No, the Wallachian state is based on giving. Give your neighbors love, give your enemies cities, and give away all your money. Nurhasi grumbles to himself and decides to just get a home and sit around there until Wallachia dies. A mass wave of Cebuan workers hailing from the west are trying to reach their Hawaiian colonies, but are blocked by Tang ships, Japanese territory, and an unsettlingly large number of Tlingit frigates heading towards... oh dear. That's not good for Spear Thrower Owl. Guifang's eye bags have never been darker, and yet, as he sits in a fort on the outskirts of Mindirardi, watching for potential landings, he is also furiously writing page after page of hate, dripping with anger, every profanity under the sun. Hurt. Deep, deep hurt. From a betrayal beyond forgiveness. A betrayal not towards him, at least not specifically, but towards the whole island, to the people of Lanfang. He passes another page to a courier to stack together and send out later. A few minutes and a few pages later, another courier comes running in, out of breath. He stops writing. "Sir, it's Bakuan," the courier says with staggered breath. "It's been recaptured." He takes a second to refill his lungs. "The front is not lost." Guifang turns to the first courier. "Before you send these out, please tell the other commanders of this news. Tell them that we will persevere no matter how much we are thrown out to die." As the courier leaves to relay the message, Guifang feels a lump deep in his throat and his vision blurs. The still out-of-breath courier turns away. It is unbecoming of a general to cry. But who could say what that joyous sniffling sound is behind his back? Not him. Fuck the police. Oh, sorry, wrong police. This is Police the Band. Another in Yanomami's growing musical entourage. However, it seems they've changed their focus a bit. Etaniritipa will probably still fall, there's 3 cuirassiers next to it and a crossbowman, but they do have a solid shot of stopping it. Crossbow, musket, pike at the southern one, other muskets to block the next cuirassier from getting close, and musket on the right to kill that cuirassier. City and the cannon can attack the crossbow or that stopped cuirassier. Will they do that? Who knows? AI is known to be shit. Clean bullshit religion git grabs Kronborg in Zantikihini, which seems quite a nice wonder. Plus 25 HP in all coastal cities, of which they have many, and plus 50% naval unit production in the city it was built in. Overall, gonna make Tlingit much more annoying for rivals to conquer. Boo. The latest report from the soldiers sent to siege Wanshude states, "This is so awful, some pumpkin business guy is trying to offer us something he's calling jeans. We don't understand why, they do not help with the cold. Please send us more blankets. We haven't gotten a new shipment in ages." The Home Office places it into the pile of papers to be thrown out after taking a glance at the sender, left unopened. Hideyoshi decides autocracy is in fact the best path forward, because only in a fascist, or fascist-adjacent, state can he command everyone to place the reverence to his helmet as he believes it deserves. And to be fair, it is a very cool helmet. So big, the holiday for it takes up 3 days instead of just 1. Japan's got real good states, but they are in a bit of an awkward position, it has to be said. Their neighbors are Tang, stronger, Seibu, protagonist plot armor, Itelmen, basically in the same boat, Green Ukraine sucks ass and needs to die, but that doesn't help the neighbor issue much, and technically Klingit across the waters, open borders. Their best bet for next moves is to probably go after GU, or build up their frigates and take a proper stab at Itelmen before Klingit does. She sent the letter out as soon as she could, through a Cebuan trade ship docked in Houth to beat up Uina, and from there by horse to the southern coast, where the carrier met up with a Teotihuacan fishing boat, who brought it to La Esperanza under the cover of night to avoid the plains. Shaquenda had done all she could at this point, having moved to the island city's airbase the previous year. Her eyes had grown sharp over the war, showing little emotion beyond a simmering anger for those who watched for too long. Her eyes had grown sharp over the war, showing little emotion beyond a simmering anger for those who watched for too long. She knew there was a possibility they had run, but she had seen the reports, and seen the talk of another city block being brought down by the bombs, a city block in Behukal she knew far too well. There was little chance they were still out there. A true Teotihuacan doesn't back down from war. They would be her own personal heroes now. Yet a month later, a report came back to Houth from the naval front. The damn fools have nothing to resist us. She had heard of the Karal incursion in the south. With that invasion, and her reports about the incoming Klingit fleet, why hadn't they built more ships? Her message had evidently been overlooked, and for that, the people would gain more heroes. More bodies who fought for too long. Guaikuru brings in the communist Le Duan, whose name does not show properly in Civ, to join the ranks of admiral generals that's been in vogue for so many Civs. He's already helping out by getting the Guaikuru peace with the Papal States. That's not very useful. But also, they lost Laguna Los Paches. Wait, that's also not good. Nthakataka falls again, as well as Los Horcones to Tlingit up north. Tlingit has still not figured out how to make a navy on the western coast. This is just awful for them. Karal is beating them up and will keep flipping Nthakataka as long as they can. Karal is beating them up and will keep flipping Nthakataka as long as they can keep sending melee ships up, and Tlingit is about to take everything else. The colonies are also in complete danger. The warrior queen of Zazao refuses to go down. She started this game being shafted and continues to be shafted at every opportunity, but she will not back down. She will not give in. Amina takes Fatika and Kuta on the same turn and surrounds Adama, ready to take it back. With Luba having backed off, it seems to have allowed Zazao a resurgence. All units going east, Ethiopia distracted with a useless war in their own east, Hyksos still watching from above. Set has abandoned these fools. The only truth this land knows is the smoke of a gun. A yell cried out, barely legible over the sound of cannons. "Peace has been declared with Bangladesh," it said. It was not what Gui Fong was wanting to hear, especially as he had heard that Hong Sawatoy had not been retaken. No, this was nothing to celebrate. Not now, likely not ever. The front with the southern drunkards had slipped. The lack of reinforcements was becoming too great of an issue, and intel suggested that they still had many ships staying around the outpost of Ross. For now, Guifong had to hope that the frigates bombarding Sabawi might somehow convince the thick heads of the government and the Northern Navy to send help south. But for now, he just penned another letter and considered what was needed to defend the city. They'd been in this position before, they'd be in it again. His tea went cold. Maybe the invaders were onto something with their choice of drink. Alres has decided it's time yet again to make the Cheese Pope pay. She could have chosen to attack Zazao, but, well, that'd be a bit too mean. The papacy, though, has been doing nothing, just hanging around, eating cheese, thinking about Set, thinking about what cheese Set would like most. But as with Ethiopia, Set is not here to save the Pope. Dihyel will make sure of it. New South Wales is the next civ to enter the modern era, most likely through flight, which is not great for Banuba. See, the thing is, I've been hoping for Banuba to attack NSW this whole episode because, I mean, look at them. I'm always anti-Southeast Australian civ, and they have so little army on the island while Banuba has built up a carpet. If they attacked any earlier, they could possibly walk into Gubbio, Silamai, Chibisa at the least. But with NSW planes on the horizon, that balance may shift back around, though they still gotta start building them. Time's probably out, though. Susquehannock is really trying to prove that quantity is better, as they throw a horde of ships and not-quite ships at the Jaragua Navy. Most of these should get munched up and sent to watery graves, especially the non-ships trying to invade islands. But the Jaragua fleet is getting better nonetheless. I do gotta say, this may mean Susquehannock's chances at a better future might just be kaput, cause Jaragua is probably their weakest neighbor and they are currently losing this war. Then Tlaxcala flips, and flips again back to Corral. And in the north, Bejucal falls while La Esperanza stands on its last legs, and woo, that Tlingit fleet is looking scary. So at least on the info sheet from the end of last episode, Tlingit is first, Teo is 10th, and Corral is 36th. Teo was 2 techs behind Tlingit and 3 ahead of Corral. A third of the army and half the production of Tlingit, and twice for each of Corral. How this compares after this episode? Well, there's a quote from the PRs that just came out as of my writing this. But don't get it twisted, Spear Thrower Owl still is and will be a worthy competitor in this game. They still have the might, the production, the science, and the heart to pull through and conquer their way to a solid empire that can contend in the top 5. They still have what it takes. I don't think this will be said again after what's happened. And here we are at the end of the episode, witnessing the fall of Etenyiri Tepa. The war of music nears closer to its conclusion. Biggie Smalls and Tupac Shakur, glowering at each other, are shoved into a room and told to make music together until they get over their rivalry. Their partnership is going to become the greatest musical act South America, and possibly the whole world, has ever seen. But for now, it's 2 guys getting their anger out in raps in the studio in Marimbu, being watched and listened to and judged by David Kopinawa himself. Some notes on the mini-map. Biarmia retained control of those 2 cities on the front line. Ribe didn't fall to Hansa, meanwhile, France citadels Hansa. Herero settled the spot they had raised from Moravi, New South Wales does a bunch of settlement infilling, and Seychelles adds one to Arabia, and Charagua finally gets a second city on Hispaniola, despite them having been able to since the beginning. Not the most action-packed episode, all things considered, so I hope my writing was good enough to keep you interested. Thank you all for reading this. It's been a good reprieve for my modding project, and next Mark, I hope to have more than 1 civ in, so that'll be fun. I still have a comic to make, and maybe I'll have the motivation to go do another LPS, because someone didn't take any shots focusing on Portugal, and because I'm gonna be busy with a game jam soon. And I really gotta get the ideas I have down before there's just too much to cover. So with that, have a good summer. I'll probably see you again in about 20 parts. Fuck Tlingit, and here's how Pomo can still win. And I've been Inyokel, thank you so much for listening. There's not going to be an episode from me next week, because I'm going to be at San Diego Comic-Con. Woo! If you see me in the crowd, you won't know it, because y'all don't know what I look like. But thank you for listening anyway. There should be someone filling in for me next week, so look out for that. And thank you for listening, and have a lovely time doing whatever you're doing right now. Is it cooking? Does it smell good? I bet it smells good.